welcome back to my channel. I am coming on today to do a look that was very much requested from my empties video, the last empties video that I posted. I had a lot of people ask to see this look, so that's what I'm doing today. I even put the same dress that I had on in that video. My hair doesn't look as good because right after I get done filming, I'm going to get it done. But other than that, everything else should be the same. So let's go ahead and get started. I've done my eyebrows and primed my eyes per usual, so I am going to apply the primer that I had on, which is the Juice Beauty Phyto Pigments Illuminating Primer. This is a very, like you can probably hear it, watery. Well, it's not as watery once you actually shake it up, but it's more of a thinner primer. Pretty and illuminating. So this is 2 pumps. And I just put it on with my hands. You could use a brush if you wanted. And it just brightens the complexion up. I wouldn't say it's moisturizing. It's a little too thin to be considered that, but it does leave a nice tack behind. Then I used my Jane Iredale Enlighten. I have been using my Charlotte Tilbury one a little bit more, and I know that on my first impression, it wasn't my favorite. It's growing on me a little bit, but to be honest, it's hard to cover these circles right now. Like, I think if the headache that I had last night was any indication, there's something in the air that is just annihilating my allergies. And when that happens, my dark circles get super, super dark. And the lights that I have can sometimes be forgiving. Sometimes I edit a video and I'm like, holy cow, those look dark. And sometimes I edit it and I'm like, oh wow, they don't look as bad, but trust me, they're dark. So I definitely need this. Now for foundation that day, I chose to mix 2, which I very often do. I talk about mixing foundations a lot. And I think the reason I chose to mix these 2 was because they were different in finish and also vastly different in color. So the Laura Mercier Flawless Lumiere Radiance Perfecting Foundation, this is in the color Buff, which is just too dark for me. And so I added the Jane Iredale Beyond Matte Liquid Foundation in the color M4, which was the first original color I had gotten and ended up being way too light. So adding those together, it ended up working. Now that was like a month ago. I may not be as tan as I was in that video, but we're gonna make it work. I'm changing out of this dress before I go to get my hair done and putting a t-shirt on anyway, so you probably won't be able to see from here down. But again, this is a radiant foundation and this is a matte foundation, so I just like to mix things up. So I took probably like, this is 3 pumps, believe it or not. The Laura Mercier pumps out such a small amount. And then 1 pump of the Jane, so you can see the difference in colors. And then I will just mix that up. And I have no idea what brush I used, but I'm going to use my cosmetics one today. And just stipple that on. So I know I talk about like mixing foundations a lot, but this is another reason why, if something's like a little too radiant for you, mix in a matte foundation. If something is too dark for you, mix in something that's too light for you. Like, it's an easy way to not let your products go to waste because they may not be perfect for you. Because once you mix them, as you can see here, the color ends up being perfect. I really like the finish that it provides. It works out, and I'm not having a too dark and too light foundation wasting away on my shelf. Chad's downstairs eating breakfast, listening to talk radio, so hopefully you can't hear that. Already, I feel like a new person. Foundation is the best. I love it so much. So for concealer that day, I did my all-time favorite, again, combination. Now, this is the only time that I mix concealers. I don't typically make a point to do like mixology class with my concealers. I'm not saying you can't. I mean, the same goes for concealers as foundations, but I don't even know why I chose to initially mix these, but it's the YSL Radiant Full Cover and then the Chanel Le Corrector de Chanel Concealer, and this is in 30 Beige, and this is in number 3. This is actually the first time I've opened this one, even though it has an air bubble in it. because I finished up my last one. And what I do is take just one little doe foot's worth of the Chanel and put it on my hand. And then I'll take 2 flicks of the YSL, mix it in with that. Now please, please do not ask me why I love this combination, because I have no answer. I just do. It just looks so good under the eye. It never cracks and creases. Stays all day long. It's the perfect amount of coverage for me, and I just love it. I'm not saying, oh, hey, this is like you need to go out and spend $70 worth of concealers for this combination, but I am saying that I have repurchased the YSL and I have repurchased the Chanel. That's how much I love them together. I mean, these dark circles are just no joke. At this point, I just have to embrace them. So I'm going to let all of that sink in. I'm going to get a brush that I just remembered I forgot, and we're going to start on the eyes. So the eyes were, I mean, do I even need to say it? Super simple. I feel like I say that every time I go to do my eyes. But if you are new, I do not, as a rule, do very elaborate eye looks. I find that the ones that look the best on me are the ones that have 2 to 3 colors tops, simple, soft, pretty eye looks. So the first thing I did that day was go in with my Eyes to Mesmerize cream shadow from Charlotte Tilbury, and this is in the color Marie Antoinette. And I put this just on my eyelid. You can use your finger, you can use a brush. This is actually a Morphe G13. I like small synthetic brushes, like more dense type brushes for cream shadows like this. So I'm just applying this on the eyelid. We are going to be topping it. So this is more of like a base shade. I do this often, like very often. I will put a base down to help the, top color stick, and also to help it be more vibrant. I just like this technique. I do it a lot. I have worn the Charlotte Tilbury cream shadows by themselves before, and I've never had any issue with them creasing. I know some people have said they do, but for me personally, I haven't had that issue. All right, so now that we have that down as a base, I'm going to go into my Viseart Neutral Mattes Malou palette. So this is the number 2 palette, and I'm taking the BK Beauty 201 brush, the crease brush. And I believe that I did a mixture of that color, and that color. I know I mixed, and from the look of the video, that looks to be what I did. Again, I mix eyeshadows all the time. This is actually a much warmer color than the 2 colors that I'm using on my lid. And I often like to do that as well, mix warm and cool. I just think that it can be actually very flattering. So I'm just building that mixture of colors into my crease. And then the star of the show was the Hourglass Scattered Light Glitter Eyeshadow in the color Smoke. So when I had used this in that video, I had not picked these up in quite a while, and I just wanted to because I believe I was contemplating getting the holiday release of this. I just put this on my finger and then I'll just tap it onto the lid. So I kind of use this to like remind myself how I felt about them before I made that purchase, and I just reminded myself that I really like them. So I'm just patting that onto the lid. These are what I call like an adult glitter. They are age appropriate, but still give that really gorgeous sheen to the lids. And another thing I really like about them is they don't form like a hard pan after a few uses, like a lot of other things tend to do if you use your fingers the most. They'll get that kind of hard pan and it makes it hard to pick up product. I don't find that is the case with the Scattered Light eyeshadows, so I really like them. And then I'll just go in do that. So see, you got a very cool tone on my lid and then a warm tone in the crease. And I think that's why so many of y'all asked to see this, because it just is flattering to the eye. There's something about it that just is flattering when you mix the two tones together. So except for the lower lash line, which y'all know is going to be easy too, that is the eye look. Super simple. I'm setting my under eyes with the Hourglass Veil loose powder, which is a given. Pretty much happens every day. And I set my face that day with this Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Skin Perfecting Micro Powder. Obviously, I like this powder. I really have to kind of dig to get it out. I've hit pan so much. But this is in the color medium. And all of the wonderful things you've heard about this powder are true. Does not ever look like powder on the face, but it does a good job at setting the face. I have a much fuller compact of this in my kit, and I use it a lot on my mature clients. It's just very forgiving. I would not call it a mattifying powder, so if you have super oily skin, I wouldn't buy this for that purpose, but it just sets the skin flawlessly, hence the name. For bronzer, I use the Amore Pacific Color Illuminating Compact. I talked about this in favorites before. I swirl pretty much well, I kind of keep it into this 2/3 of the pan. This one is a little bit of more of like a highlight. It's got some kind of chunky glitter in it, so I tend to stay away from that for my actual bronzer. But the rest of the pan, I absolutely love. I just find that it is a very natural bronze color. This is the Wayne Goss number 11 brush. Now the reason I choose to use this brush, because I know I've been using my Osmosis large accent brush a lot, is because it can fit into those colors that I want the best. And because I love it. I mean, before my Osmosis, this was like all I would use for bronzer. It's just one of those bronzers like I could put on and put on and put on and put on. And it's just not going to be overdone. For me anyways. I mean, I'm a bronzer fanatic. Some of y'all might be like, not overdone. Look at your face. But for me, this is perfect. For highlight, I chose the RMS Illuminating Powder in Grand Dame. This is by far one of my very favorite highlights ever. It is very highlighty, as you can see, but we will buff that out. I like to go heavy with this starting, and then once it buffs out, it's at exactly the place that I want it to be. This is the Anastasia A23. I still haven't gotten the Madeira bronzer shade because, y'all, I do not need another bronzer. But I want it. That's like the story of my life. I don't need it, but I want it. I haven't gotten it though yet. I am holding strong. For blush, I use the Essence Satin Touch blush. And this is in the color 20 Satin Love. In my favorite blush video that I did, the last top 5 that I did, a lot of people asked me, like, do you not have any favorite drugstore blushes? And I really don't have many drugstore blushes at all. But of all the ones that I have tried, because I have tried way more than I have, this Essence is by far my favorite. It's gorgeous on the skin. This is the BK Beauty 104 brush. Oh, it's just so pretty. Y'all know what's coming next. I gotta buff it all together. And lately I have been going into the Ghost palette, and I have been mixing dim light and diffuse light because I'm not as tan. Now, please do not take that to say that I cannot use radiant light, because I can. I can use that all year round, and I do, but I've just been dipping into this. More dim light than diffuse, because diffused is so bright. I have both of these in the full size, but they're in my kit. So this helps me not have to like dig it out of my suitcase. And I will just buff the day away. I tend to not do my forehead if it doesn't need it as much, because these do have a slight bit of a sheen, which I love, but I don't always want my forehead to look shiny. Little spray. is the Jane Iredale Palm Mist. I'm going to go back into the Viseart, and I'm going to take those same 3 colors that I used in the crease and smoke them out under my lash line. And this is the Wayne Goss number 20 brush, which is either this brush or the Beautycounter crease brush that I use under my eyes every day. I just thought about the fact that I have parent-teacher conferences this afternoon, and the teacher is, most of the time she sees me, I don't even have makeup on, and she's going to be like, is that glitter on your eyelids? Why, yes. Yes, it is. And because none of the palettes or products that I used had any like brow bone or inner corner highlights, I'm just going to go into my Marc Jacobs Primo Omega Shadow. I've talked a lot about how this is kept in one of my drawers in my vanity that I can easily reach for in the case that I don't have, you know, that kind of color this kind of color in any of the products that I'm already using. I will just reach for this. And this mirror, I can't use this tiny mirror. Holy cow. That's like trippy. And that is it for the face. I'm going to go off camera per usual to do my mascara, and then I will come back on to finish off with lips. So for lips, I chose the Persona Matte Liquid Lipstick in OG, which is just a true nude color. So it's like a brown. I am not a fan of liquid lipsticks, which I'm sure y'all know. But these work on me. I think they have like avocado oil in them. Something to make them more comfortable on the lips. Now, they don't work for me enough to where I don't want to put a gloss over them, but that's not fault of the lipstick. That's just because I don't wear a gloss. And rarely do I never not wear Bare Shimmer from Beautycounter. And that's what I had on over this in that video. And there you go. That is the finished look from my Empties video using everything the exact same. I didn't change anything up. So hopefully y'all enjoyed this. It was what you were looking for. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comment section below. Thank y'all so much for watching. Be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. And as always, I hope y'all all go out and have a very blessed day.